Right. So, as part of our guideware learning is concerned, especially in context to the guideware integration, especially on the claim center point of view, uh, being into the technical side of guideware learning from a claim center integration as a developer or someone, I'm going to explain you a particular business scenario and how the code that you can see over here can be presented. So let's say there is a scenario that we have taken where when a claim is created or as well as any kind of closed and all. So scenario is that such a way where claim center must generate a file, either it can be CSV file or it can be TXT file containing all the claim details, and it drop into the share folder. If whether it can be in SFTP locations for any kind of external system. This is a scenario that we have taken, right? So in this particular scenario, being into the guideware claim center integration developer roles are concerned, how the file creation examples, all the file creations as an example that we want to update, so that we must be knowing today. So for that, as in when we know, this is about the Gosu editor, because whenever if we want to write any Gosu programming, here we can write on the Gosu editor here, right? So here in the example, here we can go for a Gosu new. So because the one which I have created is a Gosu class. Here you can see this is where generally I have created a Gosu class. Gosu class called as claim file writer.js, right? So this is the claim file I have created. So subsequently, this is the file, right? So if you want to have more Gosu classes we want to create, so we can create a number of classes accordingly. So or if you want to create any kind of properties, right? So if let's say that Java class you want to create, we can create even Java classes also. Or else when we are working on the new line of file that we want to create, right? So new file creation that we want to do. So we can go to the extension examples where we can go to the new and you can just click on the class. Here you can see, here we have to provide the class name. So whatever the class name that we have created, everything for example, I'm creating one more and I'll just show you. Okay. Claim submission .gs. Okay. For example, yeah. For example, this is an example I just created, right? So claim submission.gs is an example that I have created. Here you can see claim submission.gs is an example. .gs means Guideware Studio. .gs is reference to Guideware Studio, or it can be reference to the Gosu Programming also, because Gosu Programming editor is this. This is what it was. So in the same manner, we have created a claim file writing. Claims file writing is a code that we have created. So whatever the packages that we have mentioned here, if you can see here, whatever the package example that we have taken, whatever the class that is to be presented, that remains the same. Okay, as like as the same here in the claim submission, class is about the class submissions we have created. It was extended, it was enabled already. In the same manner, here we have a class file class file.gs is a class file we have created. But for that, as you already know, when we are working on the Gosu programming, whatever the program that we run and all, everything will be on the Java virtual machine. So we need to create a java.io file wherein we need to update, right? So file writer at the same time, whatever the simple data format we want to be created, that data format can be created here. Next, we need to provide the static functionality. Static functionality where there is a static functionality we are writing about write claim to file, right? So whatever the claim file we have, etc. So that we have taken. So claim file that we want to be presented, right? Whatever the required claim file, everything that we can present here. Next, we need to mention about the file name, whatever the file name properties for the claim center number and date as well as CSV, because that's what I in the present what we call in the present business scenario, as I told you, we need to define or we need to generate a file, either it can be CSV or TXT files generation is required. So in this regard, so what I have taken is claims number, including the date, followed by this .csv number. The CSV file is this one which we want to generate. Next, variables we need to declare. Either it can be date format for the new sample date format, which can be in YYDDMMV format, etc. So we need to be mention the variables, data format, date format variable. At the same time, timestamp variable will also be created. Next, we need to update the variable file name which is called claim, because claim file we are creating. So claim name that we have created, right? So claim name is created wherein whatever the required uh, required claim name that we have taken, the claim number we need to be mentioned, including with CSV, right? So this is where generally CSV file has to be generated. Now we need to set the directory path. So when you are creating a directory path, this is important, wherein Guidewire / integration for outbound claims, etc. For the directory path we need to create. Followed by this, when we are creating a new file, we need to update a new file here, wherein with a directory path where we have to produce the file name, whatever is required, everything we need to be mentioned. So this is the first level where we have to be mentioned when we are working on the application for claim file writing, etc. Right? So when we are developing any kind of code, all that. So this is the first file name formats, everything we have to be presented. Next, we should also ensure the directory exists, right? So for example, there are two conditions that we have taken. Let's say, for example, if is the condition we have taken, if the file name, whatever the panel files that we have existed, or if you want to get any kind of parent files, etc., everything that can be presented in this. At the same time, whatever the variable declaration for the claim writer that we have initiated here, right? So for that, we need to create the new underscore file writer is the file that we are creating. So we need to mention about the claim number also. Claim number, you have to mention whatever the claim ID number that is generated, we have to be mentioned here. At the same time, for example, if there is any FNOL process signals to that, we have created the claim. So there is something called loss will be there, right? So loss date, like what followed by this, what are the loss type we have, including the policy number. Because unless you have not verified any policy number, claim submissions cannot be taken into consideration. So policy number has to be mentioned here. At the same time, we need to mention about the status also. Status, either it can be claim is under the process, claim can be on hold, claim can be rejected, claim can be completed successfully. So updation of the status should also be mentioned here. So once we have mentioned the status, etc., all that, so we need to update whatever the required claim number we need to mention. Everything we have to say the same. Whatever the declarations that we want to be mentioned, everything we have to mention here, right? So we need to mention about the claim number. We must be knowing about the claim date. We must be knowing about the loss type, followed by any kind of policy number we have, followed by the status. Everything we have to create. Finally, we need to close, wherein we need to close this file so that whatever the claim file writers that we have, etc., everything can be generated in this regard. So there were some error. If there is any kind of errors which are presented over there, so that are to be corrected. So then after that, when you can see here, this is where generally run button. If you can run automatically, this code can be executed, and if there are any errors that are identified, that can be rectified. We can debug and compile and review that. Or else, whatever the required code you want to execute, everything can be executed in this process. So this is how generally under Gosu editor we can write down the code for the particular scenario. I've taken one scenario for claim file writings, either you generating any CSV files or TXT files. This is how generally we need to write, especially for Guidewire integration in context to the claim center.